Live ended, sir.
What'd you say, Seth?
I think your live ended.
Yeah, I see I'm live on YouTube. Awesome.
So
We are
live on
good.
YouTube. I don't see it on Facebook
You
anymore.
don't see the Facebook? We'll run the YouTube for now and then we'll switch back to Facebook. I'll figure out how to
Property on
double
17th Avenue
coordinate.
South, and it'd be
Okay.
great if you could call me back at 425-240-1556.
There we got him. Okay, cool. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. For everybody that's new here, if you can, everybody new, everybody old, put your information in the chat, please, if you can. That way, whether it be Instagram, whatever your social media handle, we try to follow each other and stay in contact. That way we can bring each other maximum value. Okay. Um, Entrepreneurs roundtable, we're gonna be talking about investing out of town, out of state. Um, this is something I know a lot of students have wanted to do, have been talking about. So I would love to be able to help you guys learn more about investing out of state and getting out of just your backyard and start finding deals that way. Okay. Um, awesome.
Cool. Um, yeah, we just a little introduction. My name is Seth. I been in real estate since about 2018 or so, 2019. I host a local RIA in Morgantown, West Virginia, and that and this group here are just my kind of ways to give back and give as much education on my journey that I've been able to do, and bring people together and bring like-minded people into the same room. So Ray and I started this group a couple of months ago, and it's been great. It's growing good. So share it out. Tell your friends.
Awesome. Ray Glymph, I have over 100 doors, over $10 million in real estate deals, 40 to 40 recipient. I have a ton of accomplishment, but my biggest accomplishment is being able to educate people, right? Share what I know, the knowledge I know, and bring you guys as much value as I can. Me and Seth do this every Tuesday. We take time away from our families, our kids. Time we could be finding deals, but we want to make sure that we spread it along with you guys. This is totally free. We do this every Tuesday at 6:30. So it's just great to see you guys. So many of you too stay in tune with us and getting this education.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome seeing all the repeats, right? The people that are here every single week. We super appreciate it. Um, Full disclosure, we're happy to share this disclaimer out to anybody that would want it. But Ray and I are just two real estate investors. We're not professional like attorneys or tax consultants or investment advisors or anything like that. We're sharing our expertise or bringing in experts in a field, if we're not the experts, so that we can share knowledge with you guys. But do your own due diligence, seek out professional advice anytime that you need to do so.
Awesome. Breaking news. So this was something it's kind of critical, I think, that we consider. Jerome Powell, you guys probably heard it. The Fed will not cut as much as originally predicted. We were hearing rate cuts of like 6 cuts, 8 cuts for the year. That is not happening. If you look at the stock market is kind of showing like, oh no, they hadn't priced that in. So we're going to see some slower movements in the market, which means higher for longer. They've been saying it for a long time and they mean it this time, higher for longer. They want more confidence in the market. Um, there will be some pains, some growing pains as well, um, specifically to the banking system, right? We heard of some banks having issues. There are more. I don't know if you guys have been privy to it. There are more banks having issues. So we will see some banks, and what's going to happen is a lot of these smaller banks are going to get gobbled up by these bigger ones. All right. So be prepared for that. It's going to happen. Make sure you know where your money is. Okay. Um, I think this is very critical information. Seth, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show you, right? I know a lot of people that especially on the realtor side, have talked to me about their clients when they're buying and things like that. And they're talking about paying these inflated prices that we saw, especially during COVID. And then even now, right, where they're paying these higher things, even though it's 7, 8%, they're like, oh, I'll just refinance in a year. I'll just refinance in a year, right? It goes to the same aspect as an investor when we're buying. Ray was talking about it earlier, like we got to buy the deals right. We got to be patient. When you find the right deals, they pencil in the market that you're in. Bottom line, And it's not what the market is going to be in 6 months. It's what the market is today, because bottom line, you don't know what 6 months from now is going to be.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So Gold Diggers, what wins have you guys made this week or last week that you guys want to talk about? I want to hear the excitement. I want to know what you guys have done this week. Anybody with some goals, achievements that they've done?
You know,
I have
go ahead.
Go ahead, Joy.
I had an opportunity to, it's my first time I have an opportunity to be a private money lender for a project in Pittsburgh. It was interesting. I didn't know anything what to do, but the title company walked me through it, and I think that is my biggest step that I have been since I stalled. I don't know how many months, but that is my biggest win so far. And thank you.
Congratulations.
Awesome, Joy. It's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Nicole, I think did you want to share?
Yeah, mine's not super big, but right now I'm just raising funds via my e-commerce. I use my HELOC a little bit, not much, just to do some renovations, but I'm making some big payments to pay that down to get ready for my next buy.
Awesome.
I'm gonna be well positioned.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
Clarissa put in the chat too. She made her first mortgage payment with mailbox money. So that tenant that she found, she got that rent check and made her mortgage payment through that rent check instead of out of her bank account. That's awesome. Congrats, Clarissa.
Congratulations. Aiden, I just saw him. He said he's making his first cold call. So congratulations to you, Aiden. Well done. I'll share with you guys. My win for this week is one, we are live on YouTube. So I don't know if you guys know, since like day one, I've been trying to figure this out. And I finally got someone on my team that was able to figure it out. And then to my students, we are actually developing new coursework. I fired my old designer. We got a whole new design, tons of coursework. I've been filming nonstop. There's probably about, I don't even know how many hours of information I will have up there, stuff specific to you guys. And I got another announcement for some other things that we've done at the end of this call too. So I have been working this whole week, making sure I can chisel down and get you guys as much value as possible.
Absolutely. It's awesome. Yeah, I had a meeting today with somebody in the community that is going to help me get with the RIA and stuff like that we're running, get us into some community activity and some give back and some different charity work and stuff like that. Give us some other opportunities to get out there and network investors in a positive light here in the community locally. So that was a win for me this week for sure.
Awesome. Congrats. Okay.
I want to share.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I purchased a piece of land in Morgantown 2 years ago in tax sale, and last week I received a notice from state of auditor that I will get the deed, finally get the deed next month, this month.
Awesome. Congratulations. For the people who
2
don't know.
years, and yeah, and
congratulations.
I was very glad that I can help Seth to community connect with our church leader, Pastor Larry, this morning.
Yeah.
I'm so happy and very honored to help our Mountaineer RIA and to contribution to our society, to
Awesome.
our community.
Congratulations. Congratulations. That is awesome. For those who don't know, Ashley said she gained a new client for her business as well. For those who don't know, I'll give you guys some value. When we do tax sales here, I don't know about where you guys are at. It varies from state to state, county to county. But whenever you do a tax sale, there's a certain holding period. So I think, Fane, that's what you just finished up. You just finished that holding period, is what that sounds like. Yeah. Yeah. So that you have the deed now. So you won at that point. So congratulations.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing how long it can take sometimes.
Okay. And then Keelan just mentioned purchased 5 more cars for his rental fleet, created some great systems. Awesome. Those systems are so important. Super important. Okay. Let's get on with the quote of the week. All right. And I found some of my students, you've heard me say this. is that professionals have coaches and amateurs do not. If you want to be good at something, you need a coach, right? Somebody that can give you just that little tip or that little trick that can take your game to the next level. All right. So just remember that whenever you're doing, I don't care if it's health and wellness or real estate, or it doesn't matter. I have, fitness coaches. I have a guy who we'll talk to, some guys we'll talk to. These people that I talk to are experts. They're better at me than something. So I value them. They are professionals, right? I may be good at some things, but some things I'm an amateur at. And that's when I need professionals' opinion. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I picked those pictures, and I'm a big football fan, so I had to put the football side in there. But honestly, looking back on it, I probably should have done Phil Jackson twice, right? Because not only did he coach Michael Jordan, but he also coached Kobe Bryant, and the Lakers dynasty as well, right? So it just goes to show you what's behind the stars.
Yeah. Awesome. So for this week, main thing we're going to be talking about this week is out of town investing. Okay. And for my students, we've done a big lecture on this. I've talked to multiple of you guys week after week about it. And I think this is kind of a key term to pull in. And the biggest thing I always tell you guys is to build a team, right? When we really started getting to investing out of state, we got to have a team. So that team is going to consist of several pieces. You are the coach. Whatever you say, they will do. You are the coach, but you have to have that team. And that team's job is to check each member of it. So you'll have a property manager, right? Your property manager, they'll check on your property. They'll make sure to collect rents, etc. You'll have contractors. Your property manager may be responsible for checking on your contractor, right? Making sure construction is going on as it should. Typically, your property manager might hook you up with a contractor, especially when you're out of state. So that's a great resource, okay? Lenders, insurance agents. Lenders aren't as important as out of town, but they do play a good role, especially if you can get with local lenders, local insurance agents, local insurance brokers, right? Realtors. Having a good realtor out of state is going to bring value. We have Marcel on. Marcel's a realtor. We're going to talk about a deal that Marcel has done. He's on a call right now. Title company. Make sure you're teamed up with a good title company. Attorneys, wholesalers. These are all going to be so important to building your team for out-of-state investing. These are like your boots on the ground when you're ready to start venturing out, okay? Because you're not going to, I've invested from 45 minutes away. I've done deals that are, hundreds of miles away. So I'd rather stick to, for me, particularly, I stick to my own neighborhood because I know what I'm invested in. But if you go out of state, which I've done, these are some of the pieces that you need to have.
Yeah, okay. I completely agree. Getting boots on the ground, getting, if you can get somebody on your team that is your bird dog, right? Or somebody that you truly trust in that area, getting them to go out and be active. Meetups and RIAs and stuff like that are great ways to find a lot of this stuff all in one place. And it's all about networking to build that team, right? You got to find people that align with what your goals are.
Yeah. And Seth, let me ask you, since we're all here, I don't know if you would agree. What would you say is the most important part of that team? I put Seth on the spot. We didn't practice this. I'm putting it up, right? Trying to put you out there too.
Out of state, your property manager.
Property manager, 100%. I agree. That is your heart and soul, and even in state, right? Your property manager is your heart and soul of your deal. I've talked to some of my students. I can call on Sabrina. Sabrina had a bad, I don't know if you mind. I hope you don't mind. She had a bad property manager who wasn't doing their job though. And all of a sudden she got rid of that property manager. All of a sudden the property is cash flowing. Yeah. So make sure that your property manager, I think, is one of the biggest points. And you'll hear more horror stories about property managers than you will good ones. I promise you that. So make sure you do your due diligence and make sure you research that.
Yeah, the biggest thing with a property manager that I've found in my travels is they need to be a property manager. They can't be a realtor and a general contractor and a property manager and a this and a that and a this, right? A property manager. That's what they're specialized in. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. That's how they make their money. And it's okay that they make money because they are your who, right? instead of your how.
Yeah.
They the people that do, you know, an all in one stop and stuff like that, those are the ones that you're going to hear the horror stories because they don't have enough time.
Yeah. Yep. Great point, Seth.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
If you could pop it in the chat for us, would you mind?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That way we can just make sure we get through everything. I don't want to run over tonight because we got a good story.
Sure.
So here's the next point, okay? And to my students, again, we've talked about a lot of stuff in depth, and knowing your market drivers is one of the next biggest things, okay? Me and Triple H, we just had a conversation earlier this morning about, you know, market drivers in certain areas. And I think that is a key component of where you're investing, right? Location is one of the most important. And I think to me, the market drivers, which is going to be, you know, like population, etc. Why are people coming there? Why are they leaving there? Though that is one of the biggest pieces, I think, to out-of-state real estate investing. Zoning laws, code enforcement, your school system, making sure you're in a good school system. You know, you can invest in a property and it'd be right on the line of a bad school, and parents may not want to go there. So you might have a harder time renting to tenants just because you invested on the wrong street. Okay, so these are the little things that you really have to consider when you start investing. Employment opportunities, right? So are there jobs for people, right? Real estate doesn't work without people. Are there jobs for people? What's the infrastructure like, right? Is there, you know, public bus system? Are there train systems? You know, do people drive to work? Do you need water? Do you need utilities at this property that you're going to be building or renting out? What is the infrastructure like? A big one, and this is something that I'm looking to get a specialist on, is grants and opportunities, right? Are there, you know, opportunity zones where you can get, you know, save some money on taxes? Are there grants to help you, you know, build your house out or do a renovation on it? I'll tell you, I have one of the buildings that I have, we just got a $40,000 facade grant to redo the whole front of the building, right? That's a huge value that I now have through, you know, a grant. Another thing is crime data. Making sure that you've checked to make sure you're not in a high crime area. It's going to be a headache. Trust me. There are deals in high crime areas. Trust me. I know you can buy in the worst area and you may find a deal, but you do not want to do that. Do not buy in the worst area just to get a deal for the sake of getting a deal. And this, Sabrina, this is a major key too. I usually save some points for my students so they know, but I'll share this one too. Landlord, and we talk about this, landlord-friendly states versus tenant-friendly states. Huge, right? Huge. So you want to make sure that you're investing in a place where it's not going to take 6 months to evict a tenant, right? Because especially when we're investing out of state, huge headache, right? Your property manager's dealing with that. You're dealing with it. No cash flow. Let's just avoid that, okay? Fing asks a question. As for a property manager, do you refer to a private person who you hire to look for? I always go for a PM company, right? And I treat this just like the property manager, as we mentioned, is the heart and soul of this company, right? Of whoever is going to manage your property. I'm not just going to trust anybody. There may be some people that can do it solo. But for me and my property, I want the best, right? And just like location, you can't buy location. You can't move your building from one building to another. Property management is the same thing. You want the best from the beginning. So try to work with the best from the beginning. Use Google, their tactics to look up property managers. But property management, don't go cheap on it, guys. Typical rates are 8 to 10%. I'll tell you guys that much. You may find someone with lower, but then when they're lower, that's when you start looking like, what's wrong? Okay.
Right.
All right. So Seth, anything I missed on this? I think we got it kind of covered.
As far as the market or the property manager?
Knowing your market drivers.
Yeah, the market, I think it kind of fits into infrastructure too. When you're looking out of town and stuff like that, entertainment, right? Like, is there professional sports teams in that area? You know, what kind of stuff are people going out for? Because bottom line, when you're just studying that market and deciding whether you're going to dive into it or not, you know, we're in the service business, whether you like it or not. We're serving people, and there has to be people there, and people want to be there. So as people come in, what attracts them, and that'll help you market your properties down the line as well, if you know that stuff.
Yeah. And to new people joining us too, I see a couple new people. Good to see you guys on. Thanks for joining. Let's continue on, Seth. And to the people on YouTube, if you guys want to join, drop a message below and I'll send you the link. Okay. Okay. So out of town invested. So these are some of my principles, and this is what I look for. So I find and analyze the deal. You guys who have my calculator, if you need it, just drop a DM and I will get it sent to you. I'll send you my calculator totally free. No subscription. I'm not going to sell you anything. Just take it. All right. I don't want you to mess up because you didn't have a calculator. All right. The calculator is only as good as the data that you put into it, though. That's it. Okay. So if you're not using it the right way, if you're fudging the numbers, you're not going to get the right results. Okay. So I want to share a deal with you guys that came to my phone. And it was sent by one of the realtors here. And I want to show this, and he's on now because I want him to know exactly, hey, this is what I like to look for when I find my deals. Okay, so he sent me a portfolio, right? This multifamily here was listed for about $599. It was what, like 16 units or something. I got it written down. It was 16 units. And the guy was willing to take a bargain for it. And I'm like, man, this is a steal. Started running my numbers, fair market counter for that. He had another portfolios. I think the whole portfolio was 800,000, right? Again, I'm like, okay, no worries. This guy was willing to sell a finance this whole deal too. So at that point, I'm like, man, I'm in the game. What can he sell the finance for? 15% down. I think we agreed to about like 5 or 6% interest. Home run, right? So when this deal was done, shit cash flow me net $10,000, right? And so for some of my students, I know for a lot of you guys, $10,000, that's freedom right there for you. If you got $10,000 net cash flow, you can quit your 9 to 5. It's done. Some of you would quit, okay? And so for me, I'm like, man, this is a home run. I started messaging my students. I want to get some of my students involved. I started messaging people, hey, I might have a piece. I only wanted the multifamily. The other things checked out. I analyzed them all, but I only wanted the multifamily. Everybody else here, you can have this piece of the pie, right? Started analyzing it. Steph, we can hit it on the next slide, right? It was almost too good to be true. And it was too good to be true because it was, right? This is what I found out about the area. And I'm going to give you guys some of the tricks and tips that I looked at to get this information. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the demographics, right? This is from the Census Bureau, right? I looked at the demographics to see what the population was. Small population. The height of the population was 1960. This was a dying town, right? I don't want to invest in a dying town. I need people consistently moving there to get the numbers that I need, right? So right now they went from let's say over 2010 to 2020, they're down 400 people, population 1,200. That's not enough to rent. If I buy 20 units, I damn near got 5% of the town. I don't want that, you know? Then I went to find out, I found some stories, and this is what happens when a college town loses its college. The college shut down, ladies and gentlemen, right? Jobs were lost. School was closed. Grocery store, car dealerships, 100 paid jobs were gone, right? So from this deal, and Seth, if we can go back to the other slide. Go back. Go 2 over. You 1 over. 1 more to that picture, to the pictures.
Okay.
When I looked at the building, one of the first things that tipped me off was I was like, man, this parking lot is sure empty. Right? Holy smoke, 16-unit building, there's only 2 cars. Wonder what's going on. Now, my realtor, he's a good friend. I don't think he was steering me wrong. But he said, hey, look, this guy just wants to get out of his business. He's looking to get into another, real estate venture. He's looking to get rid of his portfolio. Fine. But when we start looking into this, I want you guys to remember, it's more than just numbers, right? You can put everything into the calculator. I promise you, some things will pencil out. When I penciled this deal out, I think my cash on cash return was like 600% or 400 or 500. I mean, it was like home run, like, Ray, you're going to crush it on the deal of the year. I remember when I got the call, I walked away from the computer like, well done, Ray. This is a great feeling. And then I did my research, and like a couple hours later, I'm like, oh man, it was too good to be true. Okay. So I share that with you guys because it happens, right? I don't want you guys to start investing out of state and then be like, oh, I didn't know about this. Oh man, I do these classes. This is why we're here for you guys. This is why we go on these calls every week to help you guys as much as possible to avoid these pitfalls. So except we can go on 2 more slides, maybe one more. So summary, don't trust realtors or anyone selling a deal, right? So it's not my realtor's fault, right? Marcel, if you hear me, it's not your fault. I'm not mad at you. But maybe it's my fault is because I didn't educate you enough, right? And this is me being a leader and a coach. I didn't coach you enough to tell you what to look for. So that's my failure, right? And as a coach, I understand that. That's where you really see success when you know, hey, this is where I messed up. Don't trust realtors, though, or anyone selling a deal, right? Never. Figure it out. You have to do your own analysis. You have to run your own numbers, right? That is, and for my students that know too, sometimes you guys, I know students that have done analysis for 5 months, 6 months, and they finally get one. 7 months, and they finally get one. It's because we analyze it. And then we understand, like, okay, there's more factors that come into place, right? So make sure you don't trust the realtors. Some realtors are just looking out for their commission at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, they're there to sell you something. After the sale, most of them don't care about you until something else is ready to be sold. So be cautious buying from realtors. Some realtors are not, how could I say it? They are not friendly to investors. They don't know how to analyze a deal. They don't know what to look for. They don't have
they don't understand our business.
They don't. So they're looking at it like,
when they're
okay,
going
hey.
to get licensed, and Marcel is a licensed guy, right? I'm sure he can speak to it.
Yeah.
When you're going to get licensed, you don't learn about this side of the business, this off-market, direct to seller or creative finance and owner finance, and subject to, and all these different things, right? You don't learn about that when you're getting your license.
Yeah. So err with a side of caution to the realtors. I've had wholesalers sell me a deal and say, hey, Ray, after completion, this project is going to be worth, $200,000 more. And I run my numbers and there's no spread. There's maybe $10,000 after completion. It won't even comp out, right? It'll be a burden for me to even take this deal on. So don't trust them just because it says something or they write something. That doesn't matter. Do your own due diligence, right? Do it. Analyze it. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. When I saw 600%, I'm like, Jesus Christ, why does this guy not raise rents? I think his rent rate was about $500 per unit. And I think the spread and fair market rate was about $1,000 a unit. So for me, I was like, man, I could double my NOI in a matter of a year. Building's worth 500, 600. This thing will be worth 1.2 when I'm done with it in a year. So if it is too good to be true, be careful. Right. And I think these are all like critical points when we start thinking about investing out of state. I've done deals out of state. Marcel, I want to give Marcel's kudos because he also bought one of my students a deal out of state too. That was a home run. They're super happy. And Marcel, I talked to the student last week and exhilarated, right? But you just have to bear with a side of caution and understand, like, okay, this is what this person's looking for. And as a coach, and that's why we brought up that line of, having a coach. As a coach, you guys, when you're giving out your deals or when you're vetting these people, contractors, when you're vetting your property managers, you're the coach. So you need to be responsible and say, hey, this is what I need from you. These are my expectations. This is how I need things to be done. Go ahead, son.
The first slide said build your team, right?
Yeah.
It's your team. You're the head coach. You're Phil Jackson. You're Bill Belichick, right? And it's your team. And they align with what you're doing. It's funny too, just on a side note, it's not as necessarily dealing with out of town, but it's just kind of about that situation, right? In general, I market direct to seller, and I'm not advocating that that's what you should do by any stretch of the imagination. It's a business in and of itself, marketing directly to sellers. And it's a headache for sure. But I like that side of the business, and that's how I invest and how I buy, because I can dig into what that motivation is. That guy was motivated to sell. He wanted to move on to other things. All that is 100% true. But what's his true motivation?
Yeah.
His true motivation is that the area is dying and he needs to get out of it. He needs to get his cash up. If I can have a conversation with that person, I can find those things out and maybe work a deal that makes sense for everybody. But I'm dealing directly with that person. I can ask the questions and do the active listening and really dive into that motivation. Just because somebody's offering you a great deal, right? There could be a hidden motivation And that's why I like being direct to seller, so I can try to find what that hidden motivation is.
Yeah. And anybody with questions too, we could take some quick Q&A. I guess this would be a good time to do some Q&A before we move forward.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
yeah. And this is one too. I've read this book. If you guys want to check it out, it's one of Bigger Pockets books. But it talks about this exact topic. Building the team and investing out of state, pitfalls that you can fall into and stuff like that. Not sponsored by it or anything like that. So go listen to it if you want to.
Nicole wrote that I make sure my realtors are investor friendly, super important to me. Yes, I agree. Seth, we go back to the book slide, and then for my students, we forgot to include it, Seth. We do have our book, which should be done, the PDF for investing out of state. That'll be free to you guys, right? I think it's about like a 20 or 30 page deep dive into what we talked about today. Some things that I did not comment on or didn't bring into the table about how to avoid those pitfalls when investing out of town. And it should be out, I think, by Friday, and you guys should get great value from it. And then I'll try to record it and get it put out on a course too on a website. As I mentioned, we're rebuilding the website, so the website should be done by the end of the month as well. So it'll be awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I did not add that to the page.
All right. I forgive you, Steph. I didn't coach. I didn't coach well enough. That's what that.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, but I'm sure everybody's in the Facebook group, so we'll post it there in the Facebook group for you guys. So
Sure.
definitely check it out once again.
And then we can take questions. We can go Q&A. Nicole, if you want to ask your question live, it'll probably give us some more value too. And we can do some Q&A. And if you guys want to ask a question, just let us know.
Yeah, Seth, you had mentioned earlier property management companies that do all the things, like they have contractors, they are brokerages too. What are the pitfalls with having like that one-stop shop?
Seth, can I key on this one? You care?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with having them as a one-stop shop because they should have those resources for you.
Mhm.
I think it's different when they are the contractor and they are the property manager. When they're all of that in one, there's no way in hell they have enough time to go fix a property, go list it.
Yeah.
They don't have those pieces in place. So, and property management, and I manage, right? Even with I don't even know how many damn units are 140 or so. I have no idea right now. We're buying left and right. And even at this point, I still property manage. So I manage some of my own.
Yeah.
And then if I have partnerships with some, my partners will manage those. But even then, I have the pieces. I have the contractor. So if something's wrong, I'll send my contractor out, right? Or if I have, let's say, cleaning, if we need cleaning, we'll source the cleaning out, right? My job isn't to make money on the cleaning. I don't care to make money on cleaning. As a property manager, I just make money on a tenant making money or the other person making money. Okay, so, but
it takes processes. It takes a system and it takes processes. Yeah. And so a company that is built to have all those processes and have those teams, right? But your broker can't be your general contractor, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I'm saying, right? So like when you do all those different things, if they've got a team and they've got employees and they've got a network that they subcontract out and they do different things, that's all great. A one-stop shop is great there. But if it's Seth and Ray's property management, right, and I'm the one that's fixing your toilet if something's going on, and Ray's the one that's putting the listing on it, going and collecting rent and stuff like that. Like, plus we run, a 100-door business ourselves on the side and things like that. That's not something you want to get into.
Yeah, your property will be at the bottom of their list of things to do, right? And especially for property managers, here's some free game, guys. When you get with property managers, if your property is the cheapest property or it's like it falls in the middle, you're going to get treated like a cheap property and you're going to get treated like a fall in the middle property. So when tenants call or whatever system, if they don't have a system and they're still taking phone calls, your stuff may just get lost in the list. Right. And I'll be honest with you. I get so many tenants from the fact that, hey, my landlord just didn't fix anything. My landlord just let the property go to crap. And that's because there's no systems in place, right? That is the biggest thing that we see is that the lack thereof system. So when you find a property manager, you want to make sure that they do have systems. When you find a property manager, interview them.
Yeah.
Right? Interview them. Ask them questions. Hey, what systems do you have for maintenance? What systems do you have to go about finding tenants? Do you do background checks? Ask them everything. Right? Ask them everything that you would expect you to do.
Mhm.
When we hired the one here in Morgantown that we're using for our company, we had somebody on our team called like 7 different places here locally, and there were 2 of them. I knew of one through my networking and stuff like that, but there were 2 of them that were interesting to us. Right, we met them in person. We met them at one of our properties. We met both of them there, and did a second interview over and above that. Right before we decided who to go with. Exactly what he's talking about. Like, do you work with HUD vouchers, right? Do you do background checks? What are your pet policies? What kind of stuff do you find with that?
Mhm.
This area, what do you recommend for this area, right? Or what do you see when you walk into this property? Do you see this as student housing, or is this a midterm type situation for professionals, or is this a family home? Or what do you see here? What's
Yeah.
desirable in this area? Stuff like that.
And,
Start
and
that
so
conversation.
that's major jewels, because like this is a whole nother subject in itself. Is
Yeah.
vetting and finding a property manager. Because there's a lot of bad property, man. There are a ton of bad property. Some property managers in certain states don't need qualifications. They could just say, I'm a property manager.
Yep.
Right? In our state, you need to be a realtor for at least 2 years, and then you could be a broker. And I think after that, you can apply to be a property manager. But I mean, there's people who try to go around it, so making sure they have the right qualifications and a property license. This is a whole nother subject. I enjoy this, no worries, but this is a whole different subject of like knowledge, I guess we could go down and
Yep.
give to you guys. And I'll gladly share if you guys have any other questions too.
Hey Ray, I had a question for you.
Go
Oh,
ahead,
Seth,
Brandon.
you can also answer this as well. So in a world full of like, people wanting their time freedom and things like that, like, I don't know what made you want to do the property management of your units. Is that something that full-time investors they usually do with their time, like they're managing some of their units, or is that just the lifestyle that you chose? Like what really made you do that with
That's a good question.
That's an amazing question, because you
Yeah.
got two points of view,
Yeah. I'll tell you
conflicting
mine.
points of
Or
view,
Seth,
right?
if you want to go first, I don't care.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I can go first for sure. I don't manage my properties. I won't manage my properties. I have no desire whatsoever to manage properties, and never will manage properties. I hire a property manager 100% of the time, because I don't want to deal with it. I don't want I enjoy the acquisition side of the business. I enjoy the deal, finding the deal, creating the deal, and things of that nature. The passive side of the rent coming in and finding tenants and all that stuff, that's not the part of the business I want to be a part of. So I hired out. It's my who, not how.
Yep. So for me, and one, I need you guys to understand, like I have a large portfolio, right? So when we start talking about $100,000 a month coming in, 150,000 a month, 10%, I can negotiate to about 7 was the best offer that I got. 7% goes off the top. I can buy another car, right? That's a couple mortgages that I could pay, right? So I looked at that in that way. I also looked at it as, can I develop the systems to teach someone else? Right. So for my students, I always tell my students, your first one, if it's in your neighborhood, I want you to property manage it. And I'll stick to that, right? Because I want you to understand what the systems are necessary to take place so you know what to expect from your property manager as well, right? I've heard horror stories of, okay, well, we had a plumber come out and they snaked the toilet and they charged us $1,200. That's not how it works, right? I've heard horror stories of property managers marking up bills 50%, 100%, 300%. Because the person who owned the property didn't know better, right? And so as I begin to scale, and Brand, I'll tell you, I retired when I was 30. I'm 34, right? I was done with business, and I sat at home in a deep, and I'll be honest with you guys, I was depressed for like a couple weeks, because I was like, what the hell do people do when they retire? Do they just sit around all day? Like, I can't do this. I wake up, I go to the gym, I eat healthy, I go grocery shopping, I'm bored. I'm at the gym the same time that the 80-year-old people are at the gym, bro. It didn't make sense for me. So at that point, I'm like, okay, how can I add value to myself? Right? I can still find deals. I still make time to find deals. I still make time to answer all calls. My students text me all the time. I still get to text them back. I have the time. The property management was more me developing the systems that can benefit me as well, right? So it helps me keep maintenance at a minimum cost. So right now, I'll tell you, I have a flip that I'm working. It's not a flip, it's a rehab that I'm working on. But it allows me to keep my contractors busy. And those are the same contractors I use when they get maintenance calls, right? But we have a system put in place so when the maintenance call comes in, it goes directly to the contractor. I don't have to get it. The system's put in place. So in actually property management, I may spend an hour a week on property management stuff, right? I'll put the systems in place. So that hour a week may save me 7 grand, 10 grand, 12 grand. It's a lot of money. I don't know if I'm worth 12 grand an hour yet, guys. Hopefully one day I'm worth it. I get there, but I don't think I'm there at 12 grand an hour. So if I need to, I'll do those little things. And that's the things that also keep me hungry, keep me motivated. I stay in contact with my tenants. My tenants know, if you walk around my neighborhood, if you know me in my neighborhood, everybody know who the hell I am. My tenants know who I am, and it's a respect factor, right? They'll see me. You got to see me. Hey, John, hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? Right? I have a secretary who helps when, tenants don't pay the rent. She'll take care of it, right? I don't want to be the guy knock, landlord. But, we have those systems in place that make our life easier. I'm also, like I said, I'm retired. So at this point, what the hell am I going to do all day? So probably
there is a huge benefit.
Yeah.
There is a huge benefit of, like you said, on that very first one, especially if it's in your neighborhood, of doing it. I have managed in the past, right? And I mean, processes and systems and processes aren't necessarily my strong point. Ray is much more stronger in that aspect from the time that I've known him. It's kind of the visionary versus the integrator type role and stuff like that, right? The integrator is very detail oriented and stuff like that. The visionary is kind of out in left field 90% of the time. I tend to lean towards the out in left field a lot of times, the grand ideas and stuff, right? So it's not my strength to build those processes. I know somebody that I've known for 4 years now. She owns 650 properties, not doors. Like, she owns multifamily. It's more than that when you count about doors. 650 parcels that are cash flow, and she manages them herself.
I want to give you guys an example too, and this is why. And when you start looking up to the bigger names in real estate, they have the systems in house, right? Sabrina, you were with me when we met Ken McElroy. We got a picture together with Ken. Actually, we were at his office. Ken has a team put together that manages his property management. Ken has over, I think, $2 billion in real estate. Billion with a B, and they have it in house. So think about what their rent roll is, right? So they're seeing couple million. Now imagine if they sold that off to a property management company. And think about what that would look like. So at a certain extent, when you start getting to those higher numbers, it makes sense to load it off to a property manager. To my students, or to do property management in house. I'm sorry. To my students, I always tell them, first one, try to do property management by yourself if you can. It's a learning experience, right? And it'll teach you the groundwork for when you're ready to get a property manager. Also, that 10% that you're going to give to someone from the beginning might hurt your growth, right? It will literally stunt your growth. If we're getting deals with, 15% cash on cash return, 20% cash on cash return, you're giving away 10% of that, right? So if you're getting a 15% cash on cash return deal and you give a property manager 10%, you're at 5%. You might as well put that money and lock it up in a CD and take less risk at that point and have less of a headache at that point. Right? So if it makes sense, let's go ahead, start small. If you can manage your own, do it. If you can't, I get it. Get a property manager. If you're in a position where you're making, I have some high income earners. If you're one in those positions, then fine, don't get get a property manager, but just know you're going to forego some of that cash flow.
I think there's a point, and it's a point in every business, and everybody's going to be different. There is a point where that expense doesn't make sense to be an expense anymore, and it needs to be brought back in-house, right? And then just like there's a point, if it's one or two, then again, that cash on cash return, if it's eating so much into that cash on cash return, then, maybe you need to suck it up and do it until you can have 3 or 4, and then hire it out. Once it gets to 40 doors, then maybe that expense makes less sense at this point than something that you need to look at bringing in house.
And here's the deal too, is that most companies, when you start going bigger, they will allow you to negotiate terms. Nicole mentioned, a company does an 8% or she can pay a flat fee of 109. They'll start negotiating terms. So right now, and I'll tell you, Brandon, I had a meeting with a property manager right before I just went to vacation last week. I had a meeting with one, and they're still working out the terms to try to get my deals, right? For them, I think they have under their assets under management, they might have like about 300 doors. So if I bring them 100, 150 doors, I'm going to almost increase their capacity by 50%. So at that point, is it really worth it? Can I do this in-house? What peace of mind does it bring me? Those are all factors that you guys need to consider when looking for a property manager as well. I think those are real important things.
Absolutely. And it's important. It's an important on this out-of-state stuff too, right? Because it's your lifeblood. So, I think both of us agreed that was the most important part of your team.
Yeah. Steph, you want to switch to the last slide too, if you can, just for YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, go back. Not that one. We're not gonna go that far yet. Just go. Yeah, there we go. And any other questions for you guys too while we're here this evening? Hopefully, you guys got some value from investing out of state.
Man, I got a quick question. It's kind of off topic, but
Sure.
like I said earlier, I started cold calling the other day, and I'm absolutely awful. This is my first time, and I was just wondering if you guys had any tips or any tricks. Seth specifically, I know Seth does it almost every day, so I was just curious what the secret sauce or how to get a little bit more confident behind the phone would be.
You're talking to somebody just like you're talking to me right now.
Yeah.
Right. It's a cold call, but it's just another human being. They're not any more important or less important than you are. They're just another person. It's a conversation with a person. Act like it's somebody, your best friend that you call. Hey, Aiden, how you doing, man? This is Seth. Sorry for calling you out of the blue. Just wondering, hey, that house over there on 123 Main Street, you ever thought about selling it?
Yeah.
Just
and
relax.
Go ahead.
Could I add to that?
Yeah.
I would say also for his question, if he has some type of script, if I'm going to cold call somebody or reach out to somebody, I usually write it out, have all my points that I want to cross on paper. So whenever I'm talking to this person, you could have something to fall back onto. So those moments of, just having conversations, it'll help you feel more confident in your conversation as well.
Look at that, Marcel bringing value. Hey guys, this is the real time talking.
Awesome.
Hey Marcel, you bringing value too.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. I work really hard with my VAs and with the people on my team that make calls and stuff like that on the first 15 to 20 seconds of the call as a script. It's so rehearsed that it comes out extremely natural, right? But it's where the pauses are, very intentional with every single part of it, from what you emphasize, what you don't emphasize, where you raise your voice to make it like a question, where you keep your voice stable to keep it like a statement. That first 15 to 20, maybe 25 seconds of the phone call is super scripted. And then after that, it's just the 4 pillars when you're talking about real estate. It's motivation, timeline, price, and man, just drew a blank. Do you know what the 4 pillars are, Ray?
I don't. Seth, and I tell my students, I've never had to wholesale cold call. That's just not what I do.
Right.
Do it, but it's just not what I do.
Condition of the property, motivation for the seller, their price expectation, and their time. Those are the 4 pillars. You want to cover that in a phone call. It doesn't have to be in any particular order. The motivation is the most important one. That's the one you spend the most time on. You can always dig into those other ones throughout the conversation, but just get them talking.
Yeah. And so, see, this is the value of having a coach. Steph, you coach me on these things too when I need you. So I appreciate you.
Right.
Any other questions? Great question, Aiden.
Yeah.
And this is why, again, guys, if you just got in, make sure you leave your information. If you haven't already, leave your information in the chat. So that way, Instagram, Snapchat, I don't care what it is, make sure we got it so we can make sure that we follow you guys. And that way we stay in touch.
I got a question here, Ray.
Go ahead.
Yeah, when you say that you know, a lot of your tenants and stuff, they know you, they know your face, you know, you have a respect factor. Do you ever worry about getting too close to people to where they feel as though, you know, they want to ask you for certain things on rent? And do you ever think about stuff like that?
My reputation is hell no, Ray won't. That is my reputation in town. Hell no, Ray won't. And I won't. So at a certain point, you may have those tenants who are like, hey man, would you be willing to do this? No. No. You stick to your principles, and those principles got to stay true from beginning of investing, right? And my students know, hey, look, we define your buy box. That's the first thing. Most important thing is to define your buy box. Those principles that you have, you stick to them throughout the whole thing. There is never a reason to say, okay, well, let me bend. When you start bending rules, okay, yeah, I'll let an animal win. You my buddy, I'll let an animal win.
Right.
That's when you have these issues, right? That's when you get the loopholes. You built the system so strong and you have a solid foundation that when those things arise, you already have the answer, right? You know, hey, look, no pets. Because if we have pets, we know, okay, well, we could have, you know, carpets ruined. We could have, you know, a tenant could get bit. You can have so many things that could happen. You know that now, and it'd be your job to say, okay, no, I can't.
Right. That makes sense.
My biggest headaches from tenants have been tenants that I've bent rules for. 100%.
That you've been what for?
I've bent the rules for. Friend of mine, hey Ray, you know, I really need a place. All right, man, I got you. I'll take care of you. No security deposit. Messed up the whole place.
Gotcha.
Learning lesson, Ray. Expensive learning lesson.
Yeah.
Right? Don't trust me, guys. I'm here for you guys to learn from me. Learn from my mistakes. Don't make the same damn mistakes. I was young. I was dumb. I was in a rush to get some quick money. Oh, easy tenant. No. Exactly the same principles we apply, you got to execute on that level. Just like when you in a game and you say, hey, you know, you're supposed to pass the ball in this play or you're supposed to shoot it right here. Don't second guess it. Do exactly how you're supposed to execute.
Makes
That's
sense.
the point.
For sure.
Sabrina put in there about nominating cold calling as one of our topics, right? Put that in the list. I've actually got somebody, Sabrina. She's based out of Texas, and she cut her teeth cold calling, and she got to the point where Monday through Saturday she would do cold calls from 10 a.m. on the East Coast until 8:30 p.m. in Hawaii. 6 days a week. She's an animal. She's amazing. She's trained VAs for me in the past. She has a awesome systems in place. And I'm sure she would love to come on here. So
I would love to. And guys, my students know I can wholesale a deal. I've wholesale deals. I don't cold call. It's just not. That's for me, guys. That is work. I'd rather property manage than get up on my phone and start making calls. All right, and that's just me.
That's why Ray and I work so good together, right? Because put me on a dialer and let me go do some phone calls, right? Let me go make 100 phone calls in an hour. I love it. I absolutely love that interaction with people.
And depending on what market you in, that might be one of your ways to get, you know, your first deal. And we know of stories of people getting their first deals from cold call. But again, for me, that is very time consuming. And depending on what position like some of my students are in, some of them may not have that time. Some of them do have the time. So if you have the time, then we talk about it. But usually that's why we kind of just never go over it, just because it's a time consuming thing, you know? So like in Seattle market, I know cold calling, door knocking, when you want to deal, you got to hit the ground in Seattle, right? It's different, you know? Virginia, if you're in Virginia, you got to hit the ground. It's hard to get a deal out there to get something to cash flow.
What about Eddie there, right? I mean, finding deals
oh
in
my
your
God,
market.
Eddie, yeah, oh my God, Eddie, I don't know if he got cash flow.
Right?
Eddie only invests out of California.
There you go.
For numbers reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I got a lot of people in Cali right now, and they're doing deals. They're doing the ADU deal. That's how they're forcing that cash flow is through the ADA and getting appreciation and refinancing, I guess, or selling it. Same thing in Seattle. That's what they're doing, the ADU play. They got to force it because some of the things as they sit don't cash flow, right? So, and again, when you start investing in other markets, those are things that you got to know. right? All boils down to knowing the market, right?
And then Flora, your comment there about wholesaling out of town and building trust with sellers. That's why I think that Jennifer would bring an amazing value to the group. Like I said, she was calling from the East Coast all the way to Hawaii. She's living proof that you can cold call and you can wholesale anywhere in the world.
Let's can you want to schedule her, Seth, for a couple weeks out?
Yeah, I can reach out.
Maybe in March. Is March okay? I know you guys want to.
She actually might be at that that event in Richmond. She may actually come out for that. Okay. Sometimes she has spoke there multiple times before.
Okay, I know you guys want a tax specialist as well. We've been working on it. Keelan, yeah, I see you got a question. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I just got one more question. So what is your favorite ways to get properties? What's the favorite ways that you built your portfolio?
Yeah. So I'll tell you guys, one of the main ways, and I never knew, I took it for granted, was social media. I'll tell you, social media and put it out there. And for me, I was just going to a property and I was just painting it. This is when I had 1 door, 2 doors. I was doing some of the legwork. I was in the properties painting, and I was just posting that I'm painting. And I look back on that, and that kind of laid the groundwork for me. So put it out there on social media. It's not for sure. I'll tell you guys, I'll let you guys know. You're like the secret group anyway. I may be speaking on one of the biggest real estate conferences in Canada here in the next, in May. Multifamily conference. It's supposed to be over 2,500 people there. So I may be able to speak. We're working on the terms of the deals right now. So it's a pretty big deal. But I started networking there, so keeping that network out there, and letting people know, like, hey, look, I'm an investor, right? What are you guys doing? This is one of the things I want to talk to these people about is like, what are you guys doing? Let them know, like, hey, I'm an investor. Gus, I see your stuff. You post, right? You post often. You're going to key and you can, but you post often. I know you're an investor, right? I never see any family stuff. I see strictly when you, and it might be me with, I'm blindsided. I see strictly real estate stuff when you post. So I know if I'm in your area, Gus, where you calling out? Where you out of?
I'm located in the state of Maine.
Maine. Okay. So everybody here, now when we get to Maine, if you see a deal in Maine, y'all know who to call, right? I see. So that social media is one of the biggest ways that I've gotten a lot of my deals. And number 2 was putting it out there. Hey, this is what I do, right? I've gotten deals from, I think last week, I probably got about 40 deals sent to me. They were deals. None of them, I think one of them penciled out of the whole 40, right? But I analyzed every one of them. The realtors in my market, every realtor should know who I am. If they don't, I'm doing them a disservice, right? Every wholesaler in my market should know who I am. If they don't, I'm doing them a disservice. You have to put it out there and let people know what you do. When I was at the conference with Grant Cardone, he said something that kind of sat with me, and this will sit with me for the rest of my life, right? He asked the people, he said, how many of y'all know or don't know who I am? And 2 people raised their hand. And he said, man, I'm not doing a good enough job. Because if you don't know who I am, we can't do business. We can't do business. So Put it out there. Let people know, like, hey, this is what I do. I'm in real estate. I know some people can't do it because they have other confinements or you can't post on your social media. You got jobs and stuff I get that. Any way you can put it out there in the market. Go to your local real estate meetups. Be that person. Let them know, hey, this is what I'm doing. Post that you're on here. I don't know if any of you guys have posted yet. Post that you're on here. Hey, I'm on Instagram. We learned about real estate right now. Take a screenshot and post that. Hey, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm dedicated to this. Right? This is how you start finding those deals. Go ahead, Keelan. One more follow-up.
Yeah, I actually got 2 more follow-ups.
Go ahead.
Just want to clarify when you're at the investing meetups and stuff, you're primarily networking with wholesalers, real estate investors in the area.
When I'm at these meetups,
and everybody in the room.
I'm meeting with everybody. I'm meeting with anybody and everybody if you got time. Nicole, I met you through a meetup. Keelan, I met you through a meetup. Eddie, Sabrina, I met you guys through meetups, right? I'm networking with everybody. The most of the time when we go to these conferences, if you've been in the bigger conferences, when we talk 2,500, I think Limitless was less than 1,000, right? Limitless was less than 1,000 people. Bigger Pockets, BP had a lot of people. I think BP might have been 3,000 or 4,000. It was a pretty damn big conference. When we start thinking about those conferences, think about the information that they give you. Most of the stuff that they're giving, you've learned from here already, You've already got, they're giving you foundational information. You've got it already, right? So when I go to those conferences, there's not much I learned. I may take some key points. The most value I've ever gotten was in the hallway, meeting with people, in the elevator, meeting with people. Hey, how you doing? Meeting with people. That is the value of those. And any experienced person, they're gonna tell you like, hey, I'm in the hallway most of the time during those conferences. I'll go for like 2 keynotes because a big guy speaking, Grant Cardone might be speaking, Robert Kiyosaki might be speaking. I'll go for some bigger names, but like that's it. The one in Canada, who am I opening? If I do it, I'll be opening for Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street. I'll be opening for him and Mark Heverjack, I think, the guy from Shark Tank. Shark Tank, is that it? Shark Deal Shark, something like that. Shark Tank or something.
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank, okay. So that is kind of like, but I'm there to network. That's the purpose. Go ahead, one more, and then if anybody else.
Yeah, I just got one last question.
Yeah.
In your market, do you ever feel pressure or competition from other investors? Let's say you know you're looking at a property and you feel as though you gotta not force yourself into the property, but like make a decision fast because there's other big, maybe even bigger investors than you.
So
like how do you navigate that?
So here's the thing: every investor, the investors that are in my market, they were on this call. I'll be honest, the investors that's in my market, when they need something, they call me. Right? When they want to analyze a deal, hey Ray, can you help me out with this one? I'm the brainchild of who they call because I put so much energy into this craft. So I don't really fear them. Also, the deals have certain spreads, right? There are certain spreads on a deal. I'm looking for a 30% spread on a deal, right? Some investors, if it's not, 25, 30%, and depending on how long it takes, I'm not going to look at it. It may kick down to somebody else. So I don't really fear them. And then I'll tell you about a deal we just did, and I strongly believe this. There is no competition in real estate. There's only collaboration, right? And we preach that here. There is no competition. If you bought a house next to me and you beat me to it, but you're going to beautify it, my house is going to appreciate it. You're going to add value to me. So I got no problem with that, right? You helping build the neighborhood as much as I'm trying to. No problem. My beef is with the landlords who just let their houses go to crap. That's my beef. So I don't have any.
Then they still want, and then you go and talk to them about it to try to be that good neighbor, right? And they want 250% of market value, right? Those are the ones that we have problems with.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, other investors that are out there doing it the right way, no, 100%. Honestly, if it gets into this, I don't care how good a deal is, it's not going to be as good of a deal if there are 5 other investors that are bidding it up. Like I've literally been like, somebody that me and Ray, we're looking at Ray, take this one, man. It's good. There's plenty of them out there. I don't need to. It's about being patient and finding the right deal. I will happily pass up on a deal.
And Seth, look, I got local students. I sent one of my students to Seth first before I took the deal.
Absolutely.
Because for me, it wasn't enough spread. So that'll never stop me of like, okay, there's always another deal. And I tell my students that too. There's gonna be times you might analyze a deal and it might fall through. I had a deal go from under me. It was a duplex, price right, and I lost it because the person before me or whoever the investor was said they would forego the due diligence. They would do no inspection. That's one of my principles. I'm gonna do the inspection. Right? So they got that deal. Sure, there's a ton of other deals. I'll walk away from it because it's based on my principles, and I stick to my principles.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions before we getting a little bit later, but we'll hopefully we can add some more value. Any other questions from you guys? Somebody, I heard something.
Can you talk? And this is me asking. This isn't you promoting, but can you talk just a little bit more about your program, what you offer, like far as like the program that you have?
Sure, I'll talk about that. That'll be like off camera, probably one-on-one, just for time purposes.
All right, cool.
I don't want to give any selfless promotion. So
shameless plug away.
Yeah.
That's absolutely anybody in this group is absolutely welcome to on these calls to talk about shameless plugs. You can bring value to the group. Ray brings value to a lot of investors. I try to bring value to investors as well. So if anybody else has something where they bring value, 100%. That's not a problem plugging yourself. Ray's an awesome coach.
Sabrina says we want to hear. We give you permission to plug. maybe next week we could kind of key into some of the updates on the website, and I'll kind of just show you guys about some of the things we've done, and hopefully get my new students enrolled into. We've developed a whole new set of courses with a whole bunch of content, and stuff that we chisel on that's way more in depth. It would take us a year. I mean, even doing this for like almost a year, it would take us a year to get into like certain things. When we talk about out of state investing, what we talked about today was 30 minutes. I think the out of state investment part is like 2-3 hours. There's so much more detail, finding that crime map, how to, find the rents, how to do things that we only touch on are things that I go more in depth about on in my program. Can we talk about real estate professional status in a different roundtable? Yeah, I think that'll be around the same time we get the meeting for with the tax professional. I'm gonna reach out to another tax professional that I have too. Cindy was yours, right, Seth?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, yeah. So we can get her back on this. Her seminar.
She understands that real estate professional status very, very well. She's talked about it. She ran a meetup for a little while in Charleston, and she talked about it. I've heard her talk about it twice, actually. So she understands it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get her on. Clarissa said, can we talk about real estate professional status? Yeah. A second, Sabrina kind of starting to feel arrogant without getting real estate without a coach. Yeah, it could be dangerous, right? And like we said, we started this thing with coaching. You're gonna make a huge investment. Getting into real estate, I've done it for zero money, but by the time you end up renovating the place and finding tenants and taking it over, it's never zero money. Okay, it's a huge investment. We've gotten the deals where I've gotten a $2 million deals with 10,000 at the closing table, and I've gotten the deals where I had to bring a check for 200,000 to the closing table, 300,000 to the closing table, right? That's a lot of money. I don't care how much money I have. That's a lot of money. When we talking $10,000 is a lot of money.
I've gone to the closing table to sell a property and had to bring a check.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So it happens. Right.
None of the experts talk about that. They don't talk about that one.
I've gone to tables to buy a property and received a check as well. Mm-hmm. So like it's a huge investment. So make sure this is what we do every Tuesday to add somewhat value to people who aren't part of the program, people who are. But again, we do this more for learning purposes. The mentorship's totally different. This is part of my mentorship to my students. I give them this just to help and meet new people and network too. Okay. And Keelan's gonna do a section for us on credit. Hopefully the next like 2-3 weeks. I think 3 weeks, leveraging credit and building capital, maybe using your capital for your next real estate deal. I've used a credit card to purchase one of my real estate deals. So we're gonna start talking about that in the next 3 weeks. Keelan, we'll talk off camera about that here in a few. Anything else, Steph? If you want to hit the next slide. Keelan, if you drop your contact information there in the chat, I saved the chat. Ray and I'll reach out and find out what's a good time for you.
Yeah. And Ken McElroy, we got to meet him. Real estate does not work without people, right? So no matter where you invest in, don't care how damn good the deal looked. If there's no people there or people are leaving in Exodus, and when you think about investing in California, you think about investing in New York, rent's still high, but people are leaving, right? They're going to these other states. Those are the states that you really want to be investing. You cannot buy a location. You can't buy a location. So location is one of the most important things. So remember, you need people to make your deals work. Okay.
So,
guys, it's been a pleasure. I'll see you next Tuesday. Seth, what's the topic for next Tuesday? We got it outlined already?
Yeah, it's coming up right here. The next 2 weeks.
Investing as a veteran.
Yeah, we've got a special guest speaker coming next week talking about investing as a veteran.
Eddie, I tried to get you on, but you were under surgery, so I couldn't tie up with you. But I hope to see you there.
Yep. And then we got ARVs and comp and properties coming up on the 20th of February. And then hopefully we'll be able to get Keelan coming on.
This was something that everybody wanted, was the art of comp and ARV. So I know that was a big one for you guys. So we made time to get it under wrap.
And 2 things I pulled from this one are property management and cold calling techniques and tactics and stuff like that are things that interest the group. So we'll try to get those on the schedule moving forward too.
All right. We will see you guys all next week. Thank you again, guys.
Thank you guys.